Genesis chapter 29, beginning at verse 1, the New International Version reads, Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the open country with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it, because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds, My brothers, where are you from? We're from Haran, they replied. He said, Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson? Yes, we know him, they answered. Then Jacob asked them, Is he well? Yes, he is, they said. And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep. Look, he said, the sun is still high. It's not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to pasture. We can't, they replied, until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep. While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherd. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of his uncle Laban, and Laban's sheep, he went over, rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well, and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Jacob kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. That must have been some kiss. I mean, you ever been kissed and you crying? I'm sorry. Let me get back to this. He had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah. So she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him, kissed him, and brought him to his home. And there Jacob told him all these things. Then Laban said to him, You are my own flesh and blood. After Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him, Just because you're a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was fine. No, hey. Rachel, had a lovely figure, bang, 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 and was beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I'll work for you for 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. Laban said, It's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him. Because he loved her. Shooting your shot. Boy, y'all something else. Y'all wanted some more of that, huh? Woo! I gotta pray for this service. Sean, you pray for these folk, okay? Lord, I didn't know y'all was okay. All right, so shooting your shot. That's what I want to talk about in these moments, shooting your shot. How can you shoot your shot when your chamber is empty? How do you shoot your shot when your gun is jammed? My sisters and brothers, there are those who desire to hook up with who is supposed to be in their life, but they have yet to deal with some of the realities that preclude them from having a healthy love relationship with someone else. This week, I was on social media chilling, and while on social media, someone on my timeline put something that blew my mind. It was a marvelous message-filled metaphor for what happens when you trying to shoot your shot, but your gun is jammed or your chamber is empty. Let me park here parenthetically because I see some of you looking at me real strange, like, what does shoot your shot mean? Well, shoot your shot comes from the lexicon of the culture. In the culture, check this, you are shooting your shot when you slide into someone's DMs and it is your desire to connect with them, and so you shoot your shot by sliding into their DMs. Are y'all feeling me yet? And so here again is what happened this week. I'm on social media, and on my timeline, this message-filled metaphor hit me. I got to give it to you. It was a video, a quick video of a car that was damaged. I mean, the car was so damaged that the door on the driver's side literally had been crushed and smashed in, and one of the tires was on the rim and barely moving, and then the car, watch this, was moving. It was actually in motion, but check out, here it is, the caption at the bottom of that video. Don't forget, it's a car that has been wrecked and damaged. It's a car that has a wheel missing, and so the rim is what the car is moving on. And the caption said, me going on my next date after ending a 5-year relationship. I hope y'all get it, because what the person was saying, they were damaged. What they had been through in their last relationship was a wreck, but it was through that wreck and that damage that they were still able to keep going. And look what they are about to do. They're about to go on another date. Ain't that a trip? I've got to tell y'all, I watched that repeatedly because the metaphor kept jumping up at me and saying, you've got to preach me. What was that individual doing? Watch this. Before even going to a body shop and getting repaired, they had the nerve to think that they could get healed by putting someone else in the wreck damage that they were. I got to stop right there, because before you judge them, there are those of you, not you, but the person sitting next to you, who have made the mistake of thinking that the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. Preach, Freddie, I just did. For some of you, why y'all looking all holy and playing like you haven't been there? For some, brother, don't play holy on me, but some brother will testify, if you want to get over old punani, then the next thing you got to do is get with some new. Why y'all playing holy like y'all acting like I'm making this up? What you have done is drive up to someone who is next, and you are still damaged. You still have a flat. You still have something broken. I'm still not done, because the metaphor kept speaking to me. And y'all know the metaphor also said, here's a person pulling up to a date, and now the person they are trying to date has got to get in. Watch this, the damage consequences of what they had been through. That's why before you hop into who's next, you need to stop by a body shop. You need to stop by a repair shop and look at yourself and face yourself so you won't disgrace yourself. Check yourself so you don't wreck someone else. Find out who you are as a result of what you've been through, because if you're not careful, you will discover, and this is going to get you right here, whenever you've been through a wrecked relationship that left damages, all the damages are not seen. There are some damages that are hidden, and it's those hidden damages that are most costly. You better preach, Frederick Haynes. Are y'all tweeting this since y'all not shouting about it? I'm simply trying to say, if the relationship has left you wrecked, then you've got to be careful about rushing to something next. Why? Because you'll end up putting someone in what is already damaged, and guess what? You won't even get where you're trying to go, because you may experience a breakdown on the way because you never dealt with the hidden damage. Freddie Haynes, you already preaching. Thank you. I'm doing the best I can. And with that being the case, my sisters and brothers, I'm simply trying to let you know how vital it is that before you rush into getting under someone else or trying out someone new, that you deal with your own areas of brokenness and damage that require you to experience the healing that God has in store, or you may miss out on what God is doing next in your life. I'll help y'all. I think if you were here last Sunday, you already know physically I'm struggling, not only physically but even emotionally, because of that flight United that was supposed to go from New York LaGuardia to Houston, and we ended up with a hard landing there in Newark Airport. We didn't even get very far. I found out since that experience that we experienced, watch it, engine failure. There was not just engine failure, but the brakes went out, not to mention the wheels. And so the landing was so hard, I ain't gonna lie, I really thought when we hit the ground, because we didn't land, we hit the ground, I thought I was done. And so check out what happened. What I do recall was the sister who was seated next to me. The sister seated next to me was supposed to be on the 6 a.m. flight. This was the 7:55 flight. She missed the 6 a.m. flight. Why? Because when she was going through security, the thing went off. And when the thing went off, she then had to be searched. And the search, she said, was such a physical violation of her that she was upset. She was angry because she felt like she had been felt up and felt on. And as a consequence, her anger boiled over. She asked to speak to the person that was in charge, and she went left and said she was going to report them, and she goes off on them. And when she does that, by the time she's done, her 6 a.m. flight was gone. She missed her flight, watch this, because she was still upset over who had felt her up. She missed her flight because she was still upset over who had felt on her. And because she was upset, she missed where she was going. Then she caught my flight, and my flight didn't end up going anywhere. And it all became for her because she missed where she was supposed to be, because she had not gotten over how someone had felt up on her. Now, I'm not saying that you should just rush to get over someone feeling up on you and violating you. No, that's dead wrong. What I am saying, if you're not careful, you will miss out on what God is trying to do and blessing you to take off, because you were still fighting that which should be behind you. And if you take off, you'll discover it's beneath you. I got to do that one more time, because guess what? Once you take off, then the good news is they still on the ground. And since they're still on the ground, that means you continue to soar while they remain where they are. Is there anybody here who just wants to say, you know what, Pastor, you just set me free, because I've been tripping over this clown that felt me up. They did me wrong, but I got some shout material for you. God let me take off. And because God let me take off, I now have risen above the ones that tried to fill me up and do me wrong. And so just in case you're trying to figure out if I'm talking to you, I got a word for you. This is your captain speaking. What's behind you will not define you. This is your captain speaking. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. This is your captain speaking. The very person that did you wrong, God is going to prepare a table before you in their presence, and they won't be able to do anything but watch you get blessed. Is there anybody in here who can just testify right now? Thank you, God, because there have been those who did me wrong on the ground, but God blessed me to take off anyhow. But it happens. It happens. And here it is. Here it is. We come to our text and we meet Jacob. I use those illustrations because they show apply to Jacob. Jacob is an illustration of the insight of Jennifer Jones Austin, who blessed us last year. Jennifer Jones Austin sagaciously suggested while we were at dinner after church last year that all of us, watch this, have on us the imprint of family. That means whatever family of origin you come from, there is an imprint on you. And their imprint, for good or bad, will order how you think, will determine how you feel, will set up how you act, and even how you react. And so Jennifer Jones Austin speaks brilliantly of how that works. And with that being the case, I can't help but reflect on Jacob, because here is Jacob. Jacob came from a family that knew nothing but how to be slick. As a matter of fact, they named him Jacob, which means trickster. Why? Because that's the kind of family he came from. They put their imprint on him, and your family can put its imprint on you. When the family puts its imprint on you, before you know it, how you relate to others has a lot to do with the imprint of your family that's on you. And so here is Jacob coming from a mother whose name is Rebecca. Y'all remember what Rebecca did? When Rebecca had twins, she favored Jacob over his brother Esau, so much so the Bible lets us know that she used her wiles and how slick she was to help Jacob secure the family birthright. And then after securing or the family blessing from Isaac, and then Jacob also tricked his own brother Esau out of the family birthright. So he got the blessing of his daddy. He got his birthright from his brother because he manipulated, because he had a mama who taught him how to make it through life manipulating. I got to stop right there, because if you're not careful, there will be those who raised you, watch this, and their imprint will be on you. I ain't talking about your mama, not talking about your daddy, don't know them, but the deal is this: you've got to always interrogate yourself to see how their imprint on you has determined how you see other people, how you operate in life, as well as how you react in situations. I'm preaching, y'all just missing your shout. And so understand what happens. The Bible says that Jacob escapes, and he's a refugee. Now, he's a fugitive from his own family because Esau is livid and Esau is after Jacob. But guess what God does? God, while Jacob is on the run, in chapter 28, God meets Jacob. And that's how God does when we are often on the run. God meets us in unlikely places. And some of y'all are here right now because God met you when you weren't even in church. As a matter of fact, if some of y'all want to keep it a buck, your testimony is, yeah, I'm in church, but I met God outside of church because I hit rock bottom. And when I get rock bottom, I discovered that he would be my rock at the bottom. Is there a saint who can testify that God is so omnipresently omnicompetent that God can meet you not just in the sanctuary, but God can meet you in the street? God can meet you not just at the altar, but God can meet you on your job. God can meet you when your heart is broken. God can meet you when folk have dogged you and done you wrong. And that's when you look up, because all you have left is God. And that's what happened to Jacob. And the Bible says that Jacob meets God, and that's where he sees the staircase to heaven. Climbing the stairway to heaven, OJ's. And as he does that, see what happens. He experiences God's presence and God's promise. Don't miss that. God's presence and God's promise. I'm going to be with you, and you are going to be the father of a great nation. I'm not done, because that chapter ends. And when that chapter ends, he's discovering that God, and I'm so happy to shout right here, God has been setting Jacob up even beyond beyond, behind the scenes. I love that about God. God can take those moments in your life where you have been broken and separated, and what God is doing, God is using God's promise and your predicament to push you into God's possibility. I think that's good right there, because God is so good that God can use what hurts you to help you. God can use what's problematic to you to push you toward the purpose that God has in store for you. Do y'all see how this thing works? He comes to this area, and when he gets there, he sees some shepherds, and he says to the shepherds, yo, do y'all know Laban, the grandson of Nahor? And they said, yeah, we know Laban. And he said, for real? Is he okay? Is he alive? Yes, he's alive. Matter of fact, boom, there's his daughter right there. Oh my God. And that's where it started. He saw Rachel. Ooh, that Rachel must have been a looker. That Rachel had to be something. I mean, she was a stunner. She was, yeah. And so Jacob sees Rachel, and when Jacob sees Rachel, Jacob runs up to her. Look what he does. I mean, the brother's real. I mean, he's shooting his shot already. She's a shepherd, has sheep. Don't miss this. The text says the well is covered with a heavy stone. He moves the stone for her. He then waters the sheep for her. She ain't got to do a thing. He has yet to meet her, but he's already showing something about himself. I got to do that one more time, because y'all missed your shout right there. Because what he's doing, he's shooting his shot without saying a word. So the question becomes, do you know how to shoot your shot without saying a word? As a matter of fact, I'll see if I can help y'all right quick. I did something really, a trip, Danielle, the other day. I was, because this week I ain't been doing much except going to the chiropractor, going to the doctor, and so I'm catching up on movies and all that stuff. And so I'm watching one. Can't tell you the one that it is. I don't need y'all to judge me, but I'm watching this particular one, and watch what happened. I'm watching it, and while watching it, I decide, because I've seen it so often, if I can turn down the volume and just determine what's happening by what I see. And I just want to know, if God were to turn down your volume and let people judge you just by what they see, by the actions you are engaged in, you can't just shoot your shot with the words that flow from your lip. You got to show something. You ought to show something. Sisters, I don't know why y'all sitting on me right now, because I'm hoping there's a sister in the house that's going to say, I don't want to hear all the yang yang. I want to know, can you show me something? I got to get y'all. So Jacob does all of that because, watch this, he's been positioned by a promise. Oh, that's good right there. And he's positioned by the promise, and he goes up to her once he knows who she is. I like that, because he finds out who she is. And when he finds out who she is, he then tells her who he is. My name is Jacob. You didn't shout. My name, what does his name mean? Trickster, supplanter. My name is Trickster. He's being open about who he really is. I'm supposed to be back over here. Let me see. I preach harder when I get out there, so y'all don't make me preach harder, okay? He says, my name is Trickster. He shows her who he really is. Now, let me just say this. When you shooting your shot, this is free, okay? This was not in the sermon. It's free, but it's real good. When you shoot your shot, go ahead and have enough security in who you are to tell the person who you are. Show them who you are. Listen, if you show them who you are and they still want you, cool. If they don't want you, then guess what? That's time you ain't got to waste, because they have already shown you that they can't handle who you are. Frederick Haynes, you preaching. Thank you. Watch this, watch this, watch this. I'm going to help y'all. At 8 o'clock, I did this. Let me just use it again. Watch this. A lot of us are like those display windows in the mall. And Sister Clark, in the display windows in the mall, watch what happens. Sometimes they'll have a sign at the bottom. I saw it one time. And the sign says, everything on display ain't in stock. And a whole lot of us, we have a display that betrays what's really in stock. And so you get with someone because they like the display. And because they like the display, y'all are dating and displaying. But you never go back to the stock room. Because in the stock room, that's where the dirt is. In the stock room, that's where the stuff is. That's where the junk and the chaos and the disorder is. And a lot of us wonder after we marry someone, who the hell did I get with? Because that ain't the person I was dating. It's because you were not dating them. You were dating the display. And when you date the display, it's after you get married that you hook up with what's in the stock room. I'm preaching, huh? So watch this, watch this. So Jacob says, I'm Jacob. And he kisses her. Now, I don't know what kind of kiss it was, because it doesn't say. Because it also says once his uncle saw him, he kissed him. It could have been just a quick kiss on the cheek. Like, mwah! Oh, my God. But you do it right. Because you know you got a connection. Watch this. You know you got a connection in those moments. Watch this. You know, I'm saying it slow because, okay, and I need y'all not to act holy and pious on me right now. I'm about to go right there. Can I go right there? You know you have a connection when you experience fireworks when y'all ain't having sex. If the only time you have fireworks is when you having sex, that means that ain't no real connection. That's just physical eroticism. But oh, hallelujah, if y'all can just sit together, and there's something about sitting together that makes you feel good about that person. You ain't got to say a word. You just know y'all together, and pow, 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 pow. Okay. All right. But what God does, watch this. What God does, here it is, and this is so good right here. This is so good. Okay, let me do this right. So he goes up to Rachel, kisses her, but look at Rachel. I'm feeling Rachel. Rachel is a shepherd. Okay, sisters, I thought y'all would appreciate that. Rachel has her own job. She has her own business. Okay, I got to quote Beyonce. Maybe you in the beehive and that'll make you shout. Beyonce says, before you become anybody's wife, make sure you have your own life. Because if you're not careful, I'm going to sit down. Can I sit down? Because I'm getting hype and I can't be getting too hyped because my back hurts. Okay, so let me sit down and can we just talk for a moment? Can we talk just for a moment? Can you understand the words coming out of my mouth? Because the bottom line is what Rachel teaches us is that Rachel has her own life. And if you're not careful, you will find yourself losing yourself in someone else because you don't have your own life first. Once you lose you, that means they control you. And once they control you, that means they do with you what they want to do until they are through with you. And once they are through with you, you've already lost you, so you ain't got nothing left because you were so desperate desperate to hook up with someone that you didn't have a life before you became someone else's wife or husband. And I'm just trying to say to somebody else, you love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. And so the only way you can love someone and not lose yourself is, first of all, you got to love yourself. And once you love yourself, then you establish the standard by which you are going to be loved. And because you establish the standard, that means if you love yourself right, oh my God, I'm about to shout, love yourself right, and someone comes up beneath standard. Okay. Tweet this. This is good. I'm going to say it slow too. Tweet this. Here it is. Quit being so desperate for love that you look for people to do what they've shown themselves incapable of doing. Okay. So watch this. Would you, question, would you, watch this, would you go to Dairy Queen and order lobster? You would not go to Dairy Queen and order filet mignon. You would not go to Dairy Queen and order blue crab. Why? Because Dairy Queen doesn't have the capacity to operate on that level. And some of y'all keep pulling into someone's drive-thru hoping you gonna get lobster, and all they can give you is a Happy Meal. So here's the powerful thing. And this is really what gets me, is that with all Jacob had been through, he's still being pushed and positioned by a promise. Because God says in chapter 28, I got you, and you're going to be the father of a great nation. And now he meets Rachel. Watch this. With all of his issues, with all of his stuff, God still hooks a brother up. With all of that has been going on, God still positions him for possibility and posterity. Look how God does it. God can do it any kind of way. Joseph, why don't you testify? Well, Fred, let me give you my testimony, because when you read Genesis chapter 41, verses 50, 51, and 52, you discover that Joseph, after in chapter 37, sold into slavery by his own brothers. Chapter 39, he ends up in prison for a crime he didn't commit, because Potiphar's wife hit on him and then lied on him, and then he gets forgotten by people that he helped. And now in chapter 41, he marries an Egyptian honey by the name of Asenath, and the text lets us know they give birth to two kids. One is named Ephraim, one is named Manasseh. Their names, watch this, mean forgiveness and fruitfulness. Forgetfulness and fruitfulness, because he said, God made me forget all the hell my family put me through. And fruitfulness, because God made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. Here's your shout right here. It all takes place in the context of his hooking up with the honey by the name of Asenath, because God is good like that. When other folk, watch this, have let you down and broken your heart, when your family has done you wrong, when you've been lied on and mistreated and your life is broken, God is using all of that to get you closer to Asenath, because Asenath is waiting on you, not where you were, but where you're going. And sometimes God uses strange circumstances to get you where you're going, but you can't get there until folk do you wrong. You can't get there until folk have messed over you. You can't get there until your heart's been broken. And when all of that has gone on, that's when you're ready for Asenath. Okay, all right, I'll move it. Because the next thing that happens, and it really gets me here, text says that here is Jacob, and he's filling him some Rachel, but the text says for a month he worked and stayed with Laban. Ooh, what a month that must have been. So the text don't say what happened, so I got to fill in the blanks. And every day he'd go to work. And he'd work harder. Because you know he a brother. He working. And then he'd see her the next day. It's like he saw her 1,000 times. And every time he saw her, he saw beauty he hadn't seen before. It's like she had this eye massaging aesthetic about her. And she was so foreign that every time he looked at her, it was like, and the more he looked at her, the more he yearned to be with her. But he's working. And finally, here's what happens. The text says, Laban says, all right, you've been with me a month. I ain't paid you nothing. So I need to know, what reward do you want? That's the Hebrew word. What reward do you want? You didn't get that. What prize do you want? Because Jacob saw Rachel as a prize. Oh, sisters, oh, sisters, don't you get with anyone who does not see you and treat you like a prize. Because if they don't see you as a prize, they won't treat you like a prize. But when you know you are a prize, then guess what? You carry yourself as a prize. And when you carry yourself as a prize, you recognize everybody can't handle a prize, because there is a price that comes with a prize. Look what the text says. He worked for her 7 years, because there's a price that comes with the prize. Wait, let me stop. Because I ain't talking about Kanye. I ain't saying she a gold digger. I ain't talking about that. Because again, don't forget, Rachel had her own money. Rachel was a shepherd herself. Rachel had her thing going. Don't settle for being bought. But when you see yourself as a prize, you do recognize when you win the NBA Finals, there's a prize at the end called the Larry O'Brien Trophy and a championship ring. But you've had to go through some stuff to get to the prize, because it's what you've been through that lets you know that you're worthy of the prize. I got to stop and give somebody a moment to shout right there. That's why in the process of dating, when they're shooting their shot, they've got to do what Jacob did. Jacob told Laban everything he had been through. Jacob told Laban, I've been through this, I've done that, I've been through this, I've come over that, I've accomplished this. Why? Because he was saying, in essence, I'm ready for the prize. And because I'm ready for the prize, it's based on qualifying for the prize. May I shout you right quick, everybody ain't qualified for your prize. Man, that was good. I don't even know how many players are in the NBA. They say it's about 300 are in the NBA. And then the championship comes, and only, 12 get the ring. Okay. So it's like you got 300 players. 300 players, got all them players, but then you got one champion. Okay, I'm gonna come over here because they really did not feel that right there. And so he says, I will work for her. I will work for her. I will work for her. Yes. I will work. I will work, and I'll work for her. But she a prize. I ain't gonna sleep on her couch and use her cell phone and run up her bill. I'm gonna work. I'm gonna work for her. I'm gonna get my hustle on, and I'm gonna work for her. And I hear brothers. I ain't coming for you like that, because I love you. I'm about to show you the love I have, because I hear some brothers saying, "But hold on, Freddie, hold on. You don't understand. It's hard out here for a black man." Black man trying to get some work. Black man trying to get some work. And I got to deal with the fact that I intimidate folk by my presence. It's hard out here for a black man who walks down the street and there's a bullseye on my back. It's hard out here for a black man. And here is what I'm simply saying, bro. I feel you on all of that. But that's where the Jacob in you rises up. Because Jacob, before he got the job, was working. And I'm simply trying to say, you may not have a job yet, but at least give some sign. I'm willing to work, and because I'm willing to work for my boo. I'm willing to work before we get booed up. I'm willing to put the work in.